My sister and I are on a journey to $1 million, and last year we finally hit our new milestone, our first $250,000 together. We built a simple framework that worked for us. Make money, manage money, multiply money. This became our roadmap to the first $1 million. But this isn't just about the money. We were tired of trading our time for someone else's dream. We wanted to build a life where we would be financially free enough to pursue our real passions and build businesses we'd always envisioned. Through our framework, we watched our net worth explode from $10,000 to $100,000, and then finally we hit $250,000. In a way, it was all kind of coming together. We figured out what worked for us, and we were basically becoming unstoppable. Until I wasn't. Sometimes the biggest threat isn't the market crashing or your business failing. Sometimes it's yourself. See, I was in a relationship that was falling apart, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but instead of walking away, I doubled down. And that decision basically shattered my entire financial system. I pulled nearly everything out of my investments and converted them to bonds or cash in preparation for an impulsive down payment. And so the multiply pillar, gone. But it gets worse. As the relationship spiraled, I started dissociating from my own goals and stopped managing my finances altogether. And I've been stagnant ever since. So I'm doing something about it. I'm starting a 75 Hard Money Edition. 5 financial rules to follow for the next 75 days to recenter my finances and get my 3 pillars back. Today, I want to walk you through the first rule, budgeting. I'm trying to set up my monthly spending to 20% of my income, which got me thinking, how much am I actually making? All right, let's find out together. Alright, so right now I'm at a cafe with a friend, and we're just going to be chilling here for a bit. He is going to walk around and take some photos. In the meantime, I am going to review my finances and see where I'm currently sitting at. Okay, I'm finally home. I basically spent almost the entire day out looking at where my different sources of income is coming from and just trying to figure out how much money am I making. Alright, and I want to be clear as well. So after looking at the numbers, it is actually a lot higher than I thought. I need to let you guys know first that this is revenue, so it's not totally profit. For example, we do have one employee and we have to pay salary every single month. And I think it's very important for us to be clear about this because I don't want to paint too rosy of a picture. I thought it would be important to share that because I want to be as transparent with you guys. Okay, so I'm a little bit sweaty right now. I'm going to head to the showers and then come back to the computer and run through with you guys how much money does a content creator make, and I guess break down where the different sources of income comes from. Alright, so we're back here again on the 2025 financial projections. This is where I project my income and where I got my $10,000. It was a projected income, not actually how much I make. Just a quick recap, I was projecting to make about $9,500, but based on how the year is going, I know that I have exceeded that expectation, which is why I thought it will be close to the $10,000. So once again, the financial projections is just what I do to roughly guesstimate how much I'll be making for the year. And you can see that based on my projections that I have set since the start of the year, my expenditure should be close to $2,000 as well. I want to allocate about 20% of my income as my budget and no more than that. The only way I will know that is if I look at how much I am actually making. So let's take a look at this together. Alright, let's start from the smallest one. That is going to be digital products with a grand total of $34. It's something that we just started and it's only been a month. So we got $67 divided by 2. All the money we make is divided by 2 between me and my sister, so I get $34. To be fair, we actually have more money. We actually have $443 that is stuck on Gumroad. We're just not able to take money out of it. They say we need to get verified. Their verify button isn't working. When we contact customer support, it's non-existent. If you're ever thinking of starting your own online digital product store, avoid Gumroad at all costs. I would not recommend anyone to use their products at all. Alright, and the second one is e-commerce. We haven't really been pushing our e-commerce store as hard, and we have only gotten 5 sales since the start of the year. We get almost $100 each, so that's about $244 for me. The third is investment yield, which means how much I get from bonds, money market funds, cash management, and dividends. I got 1,946. I have some cash in Webull, which has collected me a total of 766 Singapore dollars. And as you can see, I also have a bunch of dividends that has been coming in, and I have basically screenshotted it and calculated everything, which tallies up to $729. I also have some money in chocolate finance. I get my yield for the past 5 months of June to January. If I add $60, I will get the entire 6 months. I just saw I made a mistake and I forgot to add 60, so I just updated my investment yield to now to $2,006. Alright, and finally for the top 3, the third place comes to in-person engagements with a grand total of $21,800. And that includes any of these 4. Includes hosting and moderation, giving a presentation, giving talks, or doing the production. So sometimes some people are trying to create videos for their social media platforms and we help them make them. And next we have agency. So agency is kind of like production, except that it's a one-off engagement, whereas the agency is an ongoing thing. This is where we go down to help clients film and create social media content and social media assets. And then last but not least, we have sponsorships, which is just slightly above our agency work. I think most of you already know what a sponsorship is. It's when a company engages us to promote one of their products. And so that brings us to a grand total of $81,284, which if we were to ask the Raycast to divide that by 6, that's about $13,500 every single month. But here's the caveat, when it comes to sponsorships and in-person engagements, sometimes client takes really long to pay. So even though on paper I am making about $13,000, not all the money has come in yet, so sometimes my bank account does feel a little bit emptier than it should be. Now there's also investments that I'm not taking into account because I don't look at investments as income. That is something that I expect to grow over many years and build a nest egg. Only the yield that I get from my investments will be considered income. But hey, if you're wondering how my investments are doing, normally these white lines are when I enter the market, and even more so when there is a red triangle and very close to a green triangle. So I entered the market around Liberation Day and prices moved up quite a bit. Unfortunately, as you guys saw, a lot of my assets was held in cash and cash equivalents, so I unfortunately did not benefit as much from this as I thought I would. That's what this whole 75 hard is for, is to recenter my finances so that I'm able to make better financial decisions. For the past 6 months, business has been good. I've been able to earn a lot more than I thought I ever would be able to. But one thing that life has taught me is that where there are ups, there will be downs as well, which is why learning to be financially prudent will be just as important as learning how to scale up my income. So based on how I set my rule of 20% of my income, I should have a $2,600 budget. I am still going to keep it down to $2,000 by the end of the year. Maybe the market crashes and my business fails, and then for the rest of the year I have no additional income. If that were to happen, then my monthly income would drop down to $6,500. We never really know what life is going to throw at us. As most of you already know, I am also really into investing. The only way that investment really works is if you have the capital, which is why being financially prudent and learning how to invest my capital re-accelerate my growth to that $1 million that me and my sister are striving for. So I hope you found this information interesting. I want to be transparent with you guys. Sometimes I talk a lot about investments and I get really deep, especially on TikTok, but it's also not really fair if you guys can't get a grasp of my income, because you do need capital in order to start investing. If you don't have that capital, you can potentially trade your way up to it. It's a completely different skill set which I learned and quickly realized that it is really challenging for my mental health. Alright, I think that's enough yapping. I will catch you guys in the next one.